It's been a hot minute since Bong Joon-ho released the film. Originally, Mickey 17 wrapped filming 2.5 years ago, and it was supposed to come out. I'm pretty sure in early 2024. Hell, maybe even 2023. But Warner Bros. Delayed it for whatever reason. There's some speculation it was due to the recent upheaval at the company and all these changing hands. You had the Warner Discovery merger, of course, and you have the David Zaslav situation, just making bad decision after bad decision after bad decision, right? So it's been a little frustrating because I've been eagerly anticipating this movie for quite some time because I am a Bong Joon-ho fan, even though I have not seen all of his films, all of his past works. I still regret not seeing Memories of a Murder. I want to eventually check that out. But I've seen films like The Host, which is great, wonderful, monster movie, sci-fi film, during the 2000s. Snowpiercer, I think for a lot of people was their first introduction to Bong Joon-ho and, great dystopian science fiction film. But probably my favorite Bong Joon-ho film at this point, the one at least, of the films of his that I've seen, is Parasite. And that's very high praise coming from me just because 2019, which that is the year that film came out, was one of the best years of film in my lifetime, in our lifetimes, in my opinion. You had so many amazing movies coming out that year. Not just Parasite, but you had 1917, you had Toy Story 4, you had Marriage Story, you had these huge big blockbusters like Avengers Endgame, you had The Lighthouse. So many different films that year, all great. Could easily put up a top 20 list and say how much I love these movies. But the cream of the crop, the very best one, the cherry on top of that excellent sundae was Parasite. An incredible movie. So I was very much looking forward to his next film. Very much looking forward to Mickey 17, especially because it's him delving back into science fiction, which I feel like he's pretty good at, and it stars one of my favorite working actors right now, Robert Pattinson. He's fantastic. I've loved a lot of Robert Pattinson's movies over the last decade, everything from Good Time to The Lighthouse. His voice work in The Boy and the Heron is great. He's the only guy in that movie where you could tell it's Dave Bautista, that's Christian Bale, that's whoever, but you would not be able to pick out Robert Pattinson because he's actually playing the character. He's playing that goddamn heron. Just say, Mateo, your mother. It's whoa, the guy really wants to prove himself. He's Batman, for God's sake. He's an excellent Batman. And I'm so glad people are giving him more of a chance now, getting past that Twilight era. I mean, some people that will hold that over him forever. But he is a great actor, and anytime he's in a new movie, he's always playing a different character. You never know what he's going to do, which is very, very exciting. And he's just one of the best people working today, in my opinion. But when it comes to Mickey 17, the general premise and the synopsis, it's taking place in the not-too-distant future, like the 2050s or so, and the plot follows a man named Mickey Barnes, who essentially signs up to be an expendable in space, which is a crew member, a disposable worker who gets cloned after he dies. He gets assigned the most dangerous missions. He's exposed to the most dangerous materials and organisms and anything else just to see what would happen to him so they can learn over time and to better prepare themselves, for the future. But it all comes at the cost of Mickey and how horrible his experiences are. Bong Joon-ho has proved, especially in the past with things like Snowpiercer, that he is great at creating a dark dystopian world, but even though there's a little bit of semblance of humor to it, he managed to punctuate his dark dystopian futures with a little bit of humor, that sense of humanity, despite how awful it is and the circumstances that these people find themselves in. He does manage to have this comedic sensibilities to it, and that is very much on full display in Mickey 17, along with his critiques on society, whether it be classism, which is on full display in this movie, or capitalism and how it just exploits so many different people, especially people who are not in the upper echelon of society. Also mixing in religion, how capitalism, religion, exploitation of what is viewed as lesser people by these, two systems. That's on full display in his movie. And he manages to just create a perfect amalgamation of all these things, and you really feel immersed in this dark, but at the same time, darkly comedic world. And the performances across the board are great. They're big, bold, brash performances. So if your whole thing is like you're not really into over-exaggeration or something that's very broad, then I could kind of see some of these performances not working for you. But for me, I would say a lot of them did really work for me, especially with Robert Pattinson playing, Mickey Barnes, Mickey 17, and also Mickey 18. Like throughout this entire film, we see him play various versions of Mickey, who kind of have their own little personality quirks. Robert Pattinson's performance, to me, it's like if you took Joe Pesci from My Cousin Vinny and mixed him with Steve Buscemi's character from Fargo, but you kind of made him a bit of a more pathetic person. That is how I would describe Mickey or Mickey 17. He's just this sad sack who is down on his luck, who has been abused by his friends, namely Stephen Yeun, who's in the film, who's also quite good, quite fun. And he signs up for this mission as an expendable, and you just see Mickey go through these harrowing scenarios, horrifying scenarios, time and time again. Just a lot of body horror involved with him, a lot of emotional distress along with physical, of course. And you see Mickey get his ass kicked. You see Mickey get his ass ripped apart in more ways than one. You see his ass literally stretched and plugged with shots and tubes and everything. There's experimenting on this poor son of a bitch. And it's great. Like, his performance, I think, is very fun. But as I said, you see different iterations of them. So in the case of like Mickey 18, where this whole plot kind of explodes, is when Mickey 17, who's supposed to die in this certain situation, he ends up living, and he confronts essentially his successor, and they have to try to make this work. Mickey 18, he's kind of fucking done with the whole system, the whole apparatus, the culture that's been in place. He's a little more murderous. He's the one that kind of stands up for himself and other people. He's not afraid to, attempt murder in some cases. And Robert Pattinson has excellent chemistry with himself, which is great, which is really great. Some actors don't have great chemistry with themselves. The performances are lackluster. Here, he's wonderful because he just plays so many different Mickeys throughout this entire film. And it's just another wonderful performance by Pattinson, who's proving to be just one of the best actors, in my opinion, working today. He can handle comedic material very well. He can handle dramatic material very well, disturbing material. He's just great. If you just don't like following like sad sack kind of pathetic characters, then I can understand where maybe you might be a little annoyed by Mickey. But they kind of show as to why he is the way he is, because his circumstances are so piss poor. That's not to say there isn't some love in his life, some hopefulness in his life, and that's on full display with a lot of the other supporting actors they have in this movie. Naomi Ackie. She's probably like my second favorite actor in this movie. She plays Nasha Barrage, who pretty much is Mickey's girlfriend. She's a security agent on the ship, the colony ship. They're going to this planet Niflheim, and she has great chemistry with Robert Pattinson in this movie. Because she's a security agent, she's a little harder edge, she's a little more confident. But they give her a lot to do, and you buy their relationship. Because I was thinking, like, this guy, he's pathetic, he's sad. What you gonna see in him, or vice versa, and they sell that relationship. The other thing too that I like, because in so many movies where they have like a romantic aspect to it, sometimes they're like, they're not really touching each other, like. In some films, and they don't seem as like physically affectionate. I'm not saying like they're having sex every other minute. There is a sex scene. I think it's actually filmed relatively well. But I like it that they're kind of playing around with each other, and he's like grabbing her ass, slapping her ass and stuff, and having fun. Like how they start their day. He puts on her uniform, makes sure everything like looks good on her and stuff. It's those little moments that help sell their relationship and makes it very believable. And, and she has some fun, both with Mickey 17 and Mickey 18, who she, comes to know throughout the film. Really liked her performance. She has some great, funny moments throughout. Stephen Yeun, I think, is also very good. He's not in the movie as much as I would have wanted, as Mickey's best friend Timo actually really is an asshole, gets him in a lot of trouble, which pretty much sets him off on this huge journey to travel the stars to this colony world of Niflheim. He's a huckster, a con man, a drug dealer, a man of many names, many professions. And he also has, I think, a great chemistry of Robert Pattinson throughout this film. I liked his performance. Honestly, I just wanted more of him, honestly. Now, in terms of like the biggest and the broadest performances throughout the movie, outside of Robert Pattinson, I would say that goes to Mark Ruffalo and Toni Collette, who play this the couple. They're essentially, Mark Ruffalo plays Kenneth Marshall, is this failed politician. He's an egomaniac. I mean, you could say part of his performance is inspired by recent political figures like anyone from Donald Trump to Elon Musk. But he kind of starts out as a useful fool, but later on becomes nastier and more depraved and just nefarious overall. He has the broadest performance in the movie. And I ended up like really, really liking him. You hate him by the last thing. I mean, you hate him immediately upon seeing him. He's just such a fucking schmuck. But he becomes a nasty schmuck towards the end of the film. And he has some great scenes. With him and Toni Collette, they do have chemistry, but it's that kind of disgusting chemistry. Because they're such foul people, you almost hate the fact that they're so affectionate and touching each other and kissing. It's just so gross. But they're great at it. You can tell they're just having a lot of fun with the roles because the roles are so broad. And Toni Collette is great. Like, she's this, the very controlling wife. She's essentially, using her husband to gain more and more control throughout the film and influencing him in the movie. She does some particularly foul shit throughout the film, but she's also very good. I didn't have an issue with it. And there's other supporting characters and tertiary performances throughout the movie from some other actors that gives them some funny things to do. Very good. They have this whole science team that's constantly experimenting on Mickey, like designing different pathogens and antidotes, and he goes to the ringer of all that. They have some great moments with him too. The film's aesthetic is great. Like the technology is very similar to something you might see in Alien. It's very utilitarian. It's ugly, right? It's very big. It's blocky. A lot of big dumb buttons. That's what I like to see in a lot of my science fiction, dystopias, and that's on full display in this. And there's just this permeating weirdness throughout the movie. It's like it's grounded in a lot of reality, sure. But then this weirdness kind of just pokes out its head every once in a while. And I can honestly see some people being turned off by that. It's similar to the weirdness that you see in The Host, in something like Snowpiercer. It might be present in some of Bong Joon-ho's other science fiction films that I might not be privy to. But I really enjoyed it. It might not be, it's not. If you're expecting this is going to be his next Parasite, that this is on the same level, if not superior, it's not that. It really isn't. Though I don't think it was trying to be that. But it's still, I think, a really good and well-acted sci-fi drama comedy romance. It manages to blend all these different subgenres to create something I think that's pretty fun, that's pretty well paced, and just really continues to showcase the obvious talents of someone like Robert Pattinson, who is buoyed by some really good supporting performances throughout the movie. Everyone from Naomi Ackie to Stephen Yeun to Mark Ruffalo and Toni Collette. And the other thing with Robert Pattinson, he is a very physical actor. And there are some sequences in this movie where he's flopping around, he's flying around, and some of it's assisted by CGI, but there's one sequence in particular that I thought was very, very good. And it's one where he's eating dinner with several people, including Mark Ruffalo and Toni Collette, where he's having some sort of reaction to the food that he was just given, and it was great. It almost feels like it was a little improvised by him just because of how much he was flying around, flopping around the room. I really, really liked him throughout the movie. It's one of my favorite performances this year. And Mickey 17 is definitely one of my favorite films so far this year. It's just under Companion, which is my favorite. But if you have a taste for dystopian sci-fi, with a nice vein of comedy, and if you're a fan of Bong Joon-ho science fiction films, I think you're going to get a lot out of Mickey 17. But what about you guys? I'm actually very curious. What do you guys think of this movie? Did you like as much as I did? Were you more mixed on it? Maybe the tones didn't work for you. There's a lot of tones in this film. Comedy, dramatic, romance, horror in some cases. A lot there. Very much a subgenre heavy film, combining all these subgenres together. Genre bending, if you will. Or did you just downright hate? Did you just hate Mickey 17, 18, all the way down to 1? Let me know.